Cash, for coming and sharing your time with us. But before we get into our questions that we have for you, I wanted to go over this plan with the committee members and see if it all looks good or if something needs to be changed, if I forgot someone. I have received confirmation from the chairs of the Planning and Zoning Board and Brownfield and the EDC that they are coming to future meetings as scheduled.
Okay, can I ask a couple questions? The devil's advocate here. I read through this line by line several times,
Okay.
and my question is, so many of these things are already being addressed to the master plan and stuff. How is our involvement gonna help this, and what will our objectives be? I
Right.
mean, it's huge, what you set down here, but yet a lot of these are already being handled through the master plan. And I guess I don't see the full and I'm not questioning the work you've done, but I'm just saying, how objectively are we gonna fit into some of these, like review zoning ordinances to identify streamline development and zoning review? Have you ever done that before?
No.
So you look at a 2-3 year job alone, just for the ordinances.
So these were taken directly from the master.
But I know, I can compare them all.
Yep. So basically, the first few months is just information gathering, so that we know what the current state of the state is with all the different partners who are responsible for those kind of things, because we're not, but they might impact what we set our top priorities to be, right? Depending
I
on,
understand that, but I think my question is, how do you see us doing that?
well, I see us doing that by getting up to speed on what's going on, and then getting some environment within the village, and then going from there, seeking input from our business community and from these people who are part of the progress, right? And see what can we do that would make the biggest impact in moving forward.
But DDA and MEDC and some of these places aren't already doing that?
Yeah, so they are doing lots, right? And so that's why I wanted to start out with just figuring out what else is everyone doing. So we have all these objectives in the master plan. We start talking about ideas we might have, what's already been done, or the timeline that other things are planning on.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
I don't want to sound rude or anything, okay? But after attending meetings for 10 years, you kind of know what's going on and you pay attention. We already know what's been done in that. So I think what we're trying to figure out is, because we already know all this. We already know what's been done, what's going on, all that stuff. You're the only one that doesn't. So basically, most of this has been done.
Well, are you saying that you don't think you'll learn anything new, getting
No, because
updates on any of these things?
I actually come to all the meetings. I even watch them on Zoom. So all these groups, I actually watch them. So I know what's going on. Every month I pay attention. So I know what's going on in the community. I know what's going on with each group. So that's my thinking. I pay attention. I know what's going on. I know most of the stuff's already been done. So that's why I want to know what's the benefit of the group as a whole.
This is my other question also about the return on investment. What's the return on investment for the time that will be devoted to this?
Well, I would think that we have a growing business community in Kalkaska. I want it to grow even more, and the DDA has done a really great job on moving a lot of these initiatives forward. But the DDA is not all of the village. And so maybe there's things that we want to do business development wise that goes beyond the DDA district. And if we can come together and decide like, okay, like what is going to be the best thing for us to put our energy behind? Is it going to be to try to get more housing in town? Because our business owner telling us, you know what, like business is great, we're growing, but people, we want to hire people, but they can't find anywhere to live. Or-
Isn't that prima facie, isn't that an obvious conclusion that we would draw?
And again, I don't need to play devil's advocate, but this is such an intense project that there's going to be a lot of questions, controversy, I'm afraid. My question is that our job as a business development group to put up housing? You know,
Let me add one other thing. Last month at the council meeting, I brought to the council numerous letters that we sought from the cannabis industry. Did you read those? That's a marketing study in its own right. Do you have any comment on that? Is that integrated into this? Why would we duplicate that again? We need to all look at the return on investment for an effort like this.
In interviewing businesses, in talking to people in general.
let's speak up a little, Cash.
In interviewing people, businesses, and talking to people in general, if you ask, give me a short answer of what can help your business, they all say the same thing, 1 and 2, or 1 and 2, and it's acre and housing. The good news is we partnered with Venture North, the EDC, and we have a really wonderful daycare center now. And we're working on housing on several different fronts. We have several different projects we're trying to get down the trail. But what was it, 3 years ago, we had on the west a piece of property that in the master plan, in the future usage was supposed to be multifamily housing. We had a developer, we had the financing set up, the whole thing, and the turnout said, no, we don't want it in our neighborhood. And so
It's limited what we can do. There's really only so much that we can do. One thing that I'm going to propose to the council, if I can, Cash, is to purchase blighted property, and the village purchase those, demolish the structures that are on them, and then sell those lots back to the open market, to the free market, for development housing. That's something that we can do, and that's within your grasp as council members.
there may be, you might want to talk to Mike Allison.
I know Mike quite well.
Give him a call about that, because they've been working with a special program for a year to redo blighted properties. I don't understand it completely, but you might want to chat with him,
I
because
certainly will. Mike's a good resource, but my concern is this a good utilization of our time? I have other projects that I would like council to assist with. I'll give you an example, the FPCT grant. I would like assistance with that. That could potentially be used toward blighted property. That would cut around all of this, what I see as essentially low return on investment time spent analyzing things that have already been analyzed, and would cut directly to a tangible output for this community.
And again, Elizabeth, I appreciate all the time or stuff we put in here, but I think that's where I'm coming from, is I think we'd be better off geared toward 1 or 2 projects that we want to see we can work with, and take those on, and when they're accomplished, we can always take on something else. Where I think this is such an enormous, huge layout that I'm not even sure we can make a good plan on how to do this. That's just my opinion. But I'd like to see us maybe take on like a grant, or go with the DDA and say, okay, they're working on this right now, this is what we need to do to help them do that. And I don't know, I just feel like this was overwhelming.
I have a question before, I mean, so who decided to bring this group together? Who decided to create this committee? I guess that's the question. No, it had to be assigned by the village council, right? So
The
the president had
President.
to enact it, or the president would have to begin the committee, or for whatever reason, I don't know what reason. I'm just asking.
Well,
So-
I think, look, you inquire about starting one.
I believe Harley opened it and asked Elizabeth to chair, it, but I'm not sure.
There had been a committee in the past.
Yeah,
But
and
hadn't been
they
active.
never,
So, right,
Not
so
because-
Harley enacted or reactivated the committee. So when Harley reactivated the committee, I'm just asking questions, when he reactivated the committee, what was he tasking the committee to do? Okay, so I guess that's the question first, is if the president reactivated the committee, he as the president should have had a reason or a goal or a direction that the committee should be moving towards. So if he didn't give any direction, this is the only direction Elizabeth came up with. So I think the question really should be, should we go back to the president and ask him what is the direction he would like this committee to go? And then from there decide what your work plan would look like.
And
Because I, like I said, if no one seems to know what this committee is doing, we need to go to whoever activated the committee and then find out what they would like to see.
and if I may, this reminds me very much of my whiteboard.
This is our whiteboard. This is our whiteboard.
And-
This is exactly our
And
whiteboard.
seriously, Rotary Charities does a system improvement grant for $10,000. And you can get a facilitator to come in and organize this to create the objectives. They take all this stuff and create a document like that, that's long-standing, that has silos that you can, if a project comes up, you can ascertain whether it fits in that,
Silo.
yeah, or,
Pillar. Can we call
yeah,
it a
in the pillar.
It's a pillar.
And because, you know, when I saw it the first time, and now that I look at it again, it looks just like my whiteboard, only more pros, if you know what I mean. There are probably just about 22 major points here, you know, and Rotary Charities is get really good at that. Plus, Kalkaska is really high on their list. They're doing a case study of how their system works. And they've asked Gaynell and I to tell the story of how we went from that to putting,
Which they should, because this is a success story.
Yeah.
We're part of it.
But I think before you do that,
right,
okay, so I don't even want to go to Rotary Charities yet. Okay.
right, not yet. We need to
So I get where
clarify.
Cash is going. But what I would suggest, because there seems to be confusion in this committee, is really, I mean, I see what you're trying to get to say, who's doing what, so we all know.
Right.
And I know, like, Mickey may know some, Diana may know some, Harley may know some, but really, what you want to do is get an overall view, summarize it, let the village council know what everybody is doing, so that way the council is aware. I get that. I think you guys need to go back to the president and say, why did you activate this committee? And what do you want from this committee?
And it's the responsibility of the standing boards to report to council and let them know what they're doing.
Right.
That's their obligation.
It is.
DDA does that through Gaynell every month. So,
And if there's something very specific that we want the council to know or want support, truly want some serious support from, Cash or I are normally at the meeting and giving some information. But you know that because you've been to some of our meetings and also to the council meeting. But I see what you're doing and I applaud what you're trying to do.
I do
think
too,
we
and
just-
a lot of
I just
reference,
think
and
we
I
need-
agree with all these things.
Right,
It's just that I think they're redundant in some of the points that are already being handled by other groups. Instead of us saying to encourage the DDA, we don't want to encourage you, I want to do something to help us. You know, what can this board do to be a part of it, or this committee do to be a part of it?
well, I think she's getting the wording right from the master plan.
Yeah.
So
And I
that's-
do appreciate the time, and I don't disagree with it, I just think the overall concept of it, I don't think you realize how much work is in these 5 pages. I mean, like, the ordinance is long. I have written and rewritten the county ones twice. The second time, it took us 3.5 years to go through the ordinances for the county.
Time clock.
I mean, you don't understand that that's a job that's, I mean, it's overwhelming just by itself. And so I think you've just got so much in here for us to handle and do it effectively and time-wise for us. I think it somehow has to be streamlined and pinpointed towards 3 or 4 different things instead of 25 different
Yeah.
things. Does that make sense?
Harley, what's the goal?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's really Harley, what's the goal?
And I know a lot of work went into that. I do appreciate that.
Oh, it was a lot of copy paste.
Yeah.
Good.
So if we want to go back to Harley and ask.
Well, I
like,
think we need to
what
invite him to a meeting and say,
I think Harley has to be up there.
I've already had that with the president. I said that it appeared to me that this was not the charter that he originally envisioned for this committee.
But if he didn't provide a vision, then he needs to come and play what that looks like.
Yeah.
Right. Just so we're prepared for when he comes back, because I hear what you're both saying, right? Like, it feels like it's overwhelming, or like, we already know this, you know?
well, and she's right when we say we know what these groups are doing. It's not that we know what the outcome is necessarily going to be at the time, but we both attend a lot of other things too. And I think we're getting a lot over that. I think that's my concern. And you don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. Nobody else has time for the overlap. We need to get it so that we're all working toward the same point, all doing different things to get to that point.
Well, just so that I'm understanding what you two are saying. So we had here about, like, if we assume each meeting's an hour, right? So we had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings where we invited other entities to come and share information about us. Do you feel like that is unneeded? Do you think it would be better for me to just reach out to these boards and get caught up for
Let's
myself?
need to find out, yeah, honestly,
I think,
researching for yourself to catch yourself up to where we're at would make sense.
Okay.
You know, for you to like find out what's going on, because we've all been doing this. I have for a couple of years, but I sat in that audience for almost 10. So, you're new. You've only been here for so long. So to jump at something, yeah, you probably would need to catch up on what's actually going on with, everything.
Sure, and
Because it's all available online.
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
it's bad to
I'm
invite
happy.
other groups, but I think we need to get our objective first.
Yes.
Before we know what the groups want to put in.
Yes.
right, so they know why,
Right.
what the goal is that they're here to try
To help us
Yeah.
get
and help
developed.
us get to.
Okay, so we're not necessarily opposed to having guests come and
No,
talk to us
no,
as a
but we
group.
need to find out
Okay,
from Harley exactly what he wanted this to
What
be.
we are, and
Yes.
what we want to, what he wants us to do, exactly.
okay.
A suggestion might be that maybe Councilmember Dunham herself can attend those other boards.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to involve this group.
Yeah, like I said, I have to go and reach out to these entities and get caught up. I just thought that maybe if I had questions about something, other people would have the same questions, so I thought we could do it together, but, definitely have to talk to the president and see
Yeah,
if this is on track or if he had something.
yeah, because he could have something totally different on his mind, of what he wants us to do.
Or he can have this in the
Yeah.
thing, so
Yeah.
unless I think it just sounded like there's confusion, so that was my point, was what were you directed
That's a
to
very
do?
valid point.
And
Clarification.
if no one gave you direction, if I know there's direction, I can go all over the place.
Right, exactly.
But I will say, on the DDA's behalf, once we had our strategic plan, that is all we're focused on.
Mhm.
So every single thing we do has to touch that, and if it doesn't, we say no. We'll file it away,
Or
but,
find someone else who can do
or we can find someone else, or we might just say, right now, this is what we're focusing on. But again,
Well, and a good example of that is the hospital. We have worked for over a year. And we had 2 different committees that were working together on the strategic plan that we just put together that will be voted on at the next board meeting. And once that's, we know exactly the direction, every department of that hospital hospital, every board member is having it. And it took the year for that. I mean, I don't know that it'll take us that long, but I'm just saying, the strategic plan, I think, is a huge thing.
It took us 7 months, I think, a little over 7 months. With a lot, and we were meeting monthly, we were meeting bi-weekly, and then we went to a monthly once we gathered all the data. So.
And
it took us-
it was beneficial to have the other players you see.
The county,
Is really, really important. But we went in knowing the goal. We need a strategic plan. And we put up the whiteboard. These are the ideas we have.
how do we, yeah. And basically, a lot of our ideas ended up in one of the 6 pillars.
Yeah.
And anything that didn't fit, we're like, okay, that's probably not really important at this time, so we won't add it to our strategic plan.
They'll be on the board for a later date.
It's still on the board.
Actually, if you thought it through, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of those projects really fit in that pillar.
Yeah.
They were all just on different timelines.
Right.
Different prioritizations.
And once we got focused, it's amazing how we were able to, like, things just started happening.
Things start falling in place.
Because we were so eyed on exactly what we needed to make happen.
Absolutely.
It took 18 months before we actually got to where we wanted to, like, take that first step. But that's okay. That's what needed to happen in order for, like, Railroad Square to happen.
Yeah, in order to move the North Country Trail, that took 3
3
years.
years.
After we had the plan, it took 3 years.
And it also, there's some luck involved.
Oh.
Well, thank everybody so much for your input, so I think that reaching out to the president and getting some clarification and seeing if this is close or not, or what we need to move, before moving forward with this. Since we're here, is 6:25 about, and we're gathered, would we like to go through some of this information that's here?
What's the return on investment for doing that?
Well, I guess we can go through it, except we don't know what our objectives are or our goals are, so.
I think that's premature, if I may. I've had that conversation with the president, and I really think he'll be reaching out to Ms. Dillon about this. He and I have talked about this. I think that'd be premature.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we need to have our objectives and goals set out for us before we even talk about these. And then we can decide which ones are the ones that fit the goals and objectives he's giving us. Then we need to talk about these.
It may look completely different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what President Wales will say is that business development is going to morph into a housing focus in this community, knowing what we already know about business development.
But if you wanted, like, if the meeting was to be adjourned, I believe Cash and I have some few minutes if you want us to kind of update you on what we're doing, or if you have questions on what we're doing, I'd be more than willing to stay after and talk to you. And of course, Diana and Nikki are welcome to stay too, but I hear what they're saying, but so I'm saying I'm willing to stay after and have a conversation.
okay, so is that kind of where we're landing, that our next steps is to talk to the president and go from there before we move forward?
I would talk to him first.
Okay. That sounds good. Anything else before we adjourn?
You can set another date, or you're gonna wait until Friday to set a date.
We probably want to wait and see how fast that moves.
Okay, because on here it says we have to have a recommendation to the village council, so do we recommend that Harley tells us what our objectives?
My recommendation would be that we're just gonna hold off. At this point, you have nothing to report because we haven't decided. what we're
Yeah,
gonna do.
I think that's just a placeholder. I don't
Yeah.
think we actually have to make a recommendation if we don't have one. So, no recommendation at this time.
Yep, that sounds good.
Yeah, okay. And we are adjourning at 6:26.
Is that the right time? I don't know. if it's the right
Oh, that's not
It is currently 6:25.
Yeah.
So close.
But
It's
that's,
pretty, it's just an hour or so off.
Couple hours.
Oh, I was, great.
So what were you gonna say and talk about, Danielle? I can't hardly hear you.
Oh, I just said that if the committee wanted to adjourn and Elizabeth wanted to hear an update of what the DDA is doing, because that's what she kind of wanted tonight from us, I'm willing to stay after the meeting adjourned, and Mickey and Diana, you guys are more than welcome to stay, but if she had questions on what the DDA is doing, Cash and I can answer those tonight since we're already here.
Which I would think would be a good idea.
So that's what I was trying to.
I'm not gonna stay though.
That's fine.
I worked too long today.
Fine, Mickey, you just don't want to spend time with us. That's fine. You know, I tell the meeting, she
I,
doesn't want to talk to us.
I watched you on Facebook Live.
I'm
No, I
just
started a
kidding.
new job. so.
I'm just kidding, Mickey. Just, I don't see you, so I have to
I
harass you
know,
when I see
I
you.
know. Usually I work nights, but I got a new job.
Oh, good. Congratulations. I hope it's better hours.
Yeah, I worked